We live in an age of anti-information. Russians pick American presidents. Arguing to moderation has become the new trend. In our age, the internet has allowed anyone who has an opinion to be a star. The only downside to that is that the echo chambers of disinformation are overpowering our critical thinking skills, not to mention driving our public school teachers everywhere crazy. This is 2021, a report. Hello everyone, it's Josue Carrasco, reporting from AntiAntiIntellect. We are a highly secret organization dedicated towards fighting ignorance and encouraging a democratic and open United States, one that encourages critical thinking skills for everyone, regardless of orientation, race, gender, or background. As you may have figured, it's not exactly easy being a part of AntiAntiIntellect. We have to organize classroom sessions in secret in locations such as these. Yes. We also depend on the kindness of Kickstarter campaigns to get these dodgy videos distributed through the dark web. And I'm always afraid for the kids who come to my classes. I mean, would you want your child coming to a place like this? I mean, these used to be beacons of hope. And now we look like we're on the set of some Cormac McCarthy film adaptation. But enough with the pleasantries. Most of the kids I teach have defected from their charter schools who infamously misrepresent testing data, although the government would probably rip to shreds any teacher that would even criticize such organizations. And the public schools that are left, they've encouraged learning so rote that, the students feel seriously under-challenged. And some kids feel like they're being over-challenged and their needs aren't being seriously met. Needless to say, I have a bit of a motley crew going on with the kids who attend these courses. I mean, luckily, I've been coming up with a bit of a unit plan that can not only address everyone's learning needs, but also help children understand the importance of not only having their own opinion about the world's issues, but how to better understand people with opposing viewpoints. And, also which sources can yield the most reliability in people's quest for the truth. I have to go. Sorry guys, I had a bit of a run-in with secret police. Usually if you give them some money, they'll go away, but it's pretty ridiculous. Now, as I was talking about, I wanted my students to evaluate an author's purpose for writing a document as well as that document's reliability. I also want them to understand how multiple political and social perspectives can influence societal changes, and how our current world is shaped by those viewpoints. You would think it would be enough to have them analyze this through a contemporary lens, studying current events, but still, something is missing. And I think that what's missing is a historical perspective.
Hello there, everyone. We're bringing back this EOI series format here. And in this section, we're going to be decided that 1928 Kellogg-Briand Pact, which basically outlawed war. 62 countries got together, signed this document, and said, we're not going to use war as an instrument of national policy. Now, of course, the problem with the Kellogg-Briand Pact was that it in no way at all, did it state how they were going to enforce this thing. So Americans are going to continue clinging to isolationism as World War II starts to erupt. And in fact, the decade prior, during the 1930s, there were all kinds of books published in America, during the Great Depression, basically arguing that the United States had been dragged into World War I by greedy bankers and arms dealers. Now imagine that. Of course, anytime there is a conflict, those two groups of people are going to make a lot of money. But we're really not getting into that here. Let's just say Congress put together a congressional committee chaired by North Dakota Senator Gerald Nye. They held hearings basically looking into this, investigating how and why we probably got involved and how much money arms dealers and bankers made. So these hearings fueled this controversy because they basically laid it out and said, look, these are the large profits that these bankers and manufacturers made during World War I. And they referred to them as the merchants of death. And they were like, do you really want your sons dragged into another war, fighting and dying for these bankers and arms dealers to make a huge profit? So Americans are determined to avoid this war at all costs. And in fact, this seeped into every layer.
So how can a country so politically, economically, and socially set against involving themselves in another world war have such a change of heart? What were the multiple viewpoints and social, political, and economic situations that led the U.S. into World War II? Well, that's one of the main goals of the unit plan. Students will learn how these multiple perspectives led the country into war, and they will also learn how to defend multiple viewpoints that are presented to them, regardless of their own stance. The lesson plans within the unit plan offer various benefits to students. It's not just a dry retreat of a common history lesson, nor a boring retreat of modes of persuasion or logical fallacies. Rather, it acts as a task-oriented unit plan and requires students to activate prior knowledge of argumentative fallacies and their knowledge of World War II in general through journal activities and other gradual release writing activities and collaborative quizzes. Students' interests will also be taken into account as we will study how the everyday media they consume is trying to either sell them something, convince them of something, or trying to inform them of something. Through collaborative quizzes, academic whole group discussions, research opportunities, as well as analyzation of primary and secondary sources, as well as an opportunity to create their own PSA using the modes of persuasion they learn about, the opportunity to implement a lean yet mean amount of meaningful formative assessments is at the heart of the unit plan. Also, with whole group discussions and closely monitored group research, it is far easier to implement sheltered instructional observational protocol methods into the unit's lesson plan, as lesson objectives are not only included, yet built into every performance task. This way, students of all backgrounds can benefit from a differentiated and task-focused unit plan. What's more is that the summative assessment for this unit plan comes in the form of a culminating debate activity where students work together as well as with their teacher to convince Congress to enter the U.S. into World War II or not enter the U.S. into World War II. Because every student must play the role of an important figure throughout the Second World War, such as the author of the Neutrality Act or Charles Lindbergh of Double V. This tests many of the students' knowledge of deconstructing arguments in media and seminal U.S. documents. It also tests the teacher's ability to implement reading strategies such as RAFT, role, audience, format, and topic across the curriculum for any given lesson plan. Also, I would say that this lesson highly benefits the students in that the teacher attempts to create a bridge between active learning and passive learning. As we can see here in Edgar Dale's Cone of Experience, The students start viewing images and hearing demonstrations from the teacher concerning the key lesson objectives at the start of the unit, which account for over 50% of what we generally read and hear and see. Then they move on to more active learning activities as the unit ends, such as participating in hands-on writing workshops and simulating a model of an experience or phenomenon, which in this case is the debate activity. The cone of experience and its application throughout this unit is also important because of its analogous nature with Bloom's taxonomy and depth of knowledge questions, not to mention how grasp is analogous, has a lot of similarities to the raft writing strategy because of students further need to consider the role they play in the debate and their audience and the way they're going to present their information according to their role. Throughout this is why I believe that this unit plan is way ahead of its time, and even a teacher who is operating from a secret underground bunker at risk of being killed by a fascist government can even implement, maybe. Just throwing that out there. Hey guys, just back in the old bunker. You know, it's funny. Throughout the critiques that I often receive from other colleagues, I've learned that when you create a lesson plan, it must not only help students who have a diverse set of learning needs ranging from cognitive to socioeconomical, but students must be able to see why the objectives and performance tasks within their unit are relevant to their own real-world experiences. In an age where anti-information is becoming such a prevalent force in society, I think it's important for students to consider the reliability of sources and how multiple perspectives across societies can undergo major changes on the account of propaganda and seminal documents. I guess you can say that words, they have weight. I also learned that in making unit plans, teachers must do all in their power to avoid two extremes. One extreme is becoming activity-oriented, or, just focused on busy work or pleasant activities to fill the time. And also the extreme of being lecture-oriented, when a student's classroom experiences consist of nothing more than endless lectures where the teacher drones on and on and on, furthering the divide between school and real life. I've undergone a lot of challenges in this course, and because sometimes I'm not confident in my own ideas, and I often compare myself to others, and, I'm caught in between trying to infuse my own sense of responsibility and individuality in my own unit plans, or trying to conform to other people's ideas of implementing unit plan features, such as grasp and where to. However, I found that a sense of competition does nothing but divide colleagues in this field, and it's important to work together and challenge ourselves to always be better. As a member of AntiAntiIntellect, there exists a challenge that daunts even the savviest of teachers who run these underground bunkers, and it's the willingness to make mistakes. But, when you're willing to make mistakes, you're better equipped to take criticism, and you're better equipped to give constructive criticism and use that criticism to improve facets of your own unit plan. In my own opinion, my most personal accomplishments have been the means to continue even after severely discouraging events. I mean, look at me, I'm in a room where there's insulation popping out of the rooftops. Signs of an old society. But I feel like, in spite of all of this, we need to be resourceful with what we've been given and use that resourcefulness to help guide students, because as a teacher there's always the need to have hope even in really dire situations. Also, another accomplishment was just acquainting myself with concepts that I found from, banned curriculum, banned curriculum, and dark web resources which used to be readily available. I got acquainted with a lot of concepts such as, depths of knowledge, where to, and grasp. And, so long as I'm a teacher, those concepts aren't going away. And I know that, successfully understanding these terms is going to be a trial and error process. But, the thought of using these concepts as tools and perfecting it as the years go along, that's very exciting. And I hope to be able to use numerous reading and writing strategies, as well as assessment knowledge and curriculum implementation knowledge, and put all of them to practice for my teaching event and teaching career. There used to be a time where kids had teachers, but, now it's just crazy, but I'm determined to make something happen. And I think it all boils down to wanting to learn as much as you can and wanting the people around you to learn as much as they possibly can. I think the secret police are here again. And I think you should be able to learn as much as you can about your career. Crap. By any means possible. I'll see you guys later. I really hope this resource was of some use to you.